Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry we're late. We had a little bit of a technical glitch, but we're here now. So it's Thursday, it's Tap Talk, and I am excited to bring on really maybe one of the busiest artists in town. He's on the Arts Partnership Board. He is a very active member, and I think board president of Gallery 4. We'll find out about that. He's involved with the Fargo-Moorhead Visual Artists Group, and then he has his whole own thriving photography business in addition to a day job. So without any further ado, let's bring on Scott Seiler. Hi, Scott.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Excellent.
Good. I'm sorry for the technical glitch. That's a pain in the neck.
One more time.
I said I'm sorry. So now
I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Well, I don't know. Reverb.
I'm not getting any here.
I'm not getting it from you. I'm only getting up. Well, this is a ripping interview for the audience. I don't know how to fix this. Oh, wait. There. Okay, except now you're muted. Okay, so obviously I'll ask you a question, then I'll stop talking and you can talk. Scott, first of all, tell us about, well, let me go back. Let me congratulate you because in addition to all those other things, you are also this year's FMVA Artist of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a nice surprise. I got a call from John Offit way in the beginning of this year. And I thought he was just calling to talk about Studio Crawl and art news and everything. But he had the great news and everything about the member of the year. And so I was really excited to hear that. And of course, that was like around February, March. So in the doldrums of the winter and the cold, it was nice to get that bit of great news.
Absolutely. It's fantastic and so well earned, Scott. You, as I said in the beginning, I feel like you work harder than almost any artist I know. And that's saying something because the artists in this community work hard. From fellow board member Dan, congratulations, Scott. Absolutely. Oh, don't let me leave out the wow, like it's a Batman cartoon comic strip. So absolutely. But let's talk just a little bit about everything that you do around your photography, Scott. We don't need to go into your day job, but let's talk about your passion job, your art job, your photography.
Yeah, I would say it started when I was a young kid. I grew up on a farm south of Bismarck, and so it was a ranch. So, it was our family that we had contact with and the animals and the prairie. So I think that's where I first learned my love of the North Dakota landscape. I probably at that age didn't appreciate it as much as I do now, just because you've had, you just take a look at it with a different lens through the years and you appreciate things more as well too. So one of the highlights that I like to do is like after work or on a weekend, I love to get in my car and just hit the back roads. I try not to take the interstates or any of the paved roads because I think there is a personality to those parts of the country that the rural part that just allows for its own presence. It has its own personality, from like iconic images of blooming fields, elevators, barns, and the other thing, and you can appreciate this, Danny, because you've been in it with some of your seminars, but the silence that sometimes almost be deafening because it is so silent. You can hear everything, and it just seems to be so much more in tune. But those are some of the things that I think I've come to appreciate that much more, and I love getting out there and taking those photographs and capturing it.
Well, you do it so well. It's sunflowers and fields of wildflowers and wheat fields, and that's not all that you photograph, but your landscapes are really special because I think you nailed it. You hit, somehow you visually describe silent for us. And that's a really powerful thing. I've never thought about that, but that is absolutely what you do. You are a visual depictor of the silence of the landscape and of the prairie. And that's a real gift for those of us who grew up with it. Um, and your point about not always appreciating it is, I think, apt for all of us who are from here. There's a lot to not love about being from here, but man, there is almost nothing like those vast expanses of fields, whether they are planted and blooming or fallow. It's just amazing. So I love that about your work. So let's talk, Scott, about this weekend coming up, because you're going to need a weekend from the weekend. What's happening this weekend?
It is probably one of the more fun times that we have as artists with FMVA, because it's Studio Crawl. It's 19 years been going on. John Offee created that, and every year there are about 40 to 50 artists. This year, I think 40 locations, but in some of those locations there's multiple artists, so you're going to see more different types of styles and mediums as well too. But for me, I've probably been in the Studio Crawl 7, 8 years now, and been through ups and downs with the COVID situation, and we've gotten through that. We've adjusted our crawl to accommodate that, and people love just going out to an artist studio. And we always joke amongst the artists on the crawl that it's like, have you started cleaning your studio yet? And we do clean, but we also leave a little bit of what I call the mess, because that's sort of like the artistic expression, and that's how we create. But we do clean it up. We really put on a show as far as locating, hanging our work. We love the questions that people come and ask us, because I think in this type of environment with an art crawl and studio crawl, people feel a little bit more at ease, and they feel about, I'm just going to ask this question because, I'm here with the artist and I can do that. So we really appreciate that as well too. The other thing is, I think as artists, that we realize that galleries and art museums are wonderful places, but we also need to reach out more to the community. And how can we do that? Just to share art and try to immerse the community in that. One of the things I think that as artists we really take back is that families come to the studio crawls because either the parents, the guardians, or the young kids have an expressed an interest in one of the art forms. And so they come and they ask us questions, and you can sort of tell with some of the littler ones that they want to ask a question, but they need a little prompting. And I think that's one of the more joyous things that we get out of it, is that to try to get some of those questions out of new budding artists and answer them so that they feel, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. And once they get that first question out, it seems the floodgates are open. They're asking a whole bunch of questions. So I really enjoy that part of it as well.
Well, I think you touched on something so important that we know is a hurdle for people. And it's, what am I going to say to an artist? I'm not artistic. How will I talk to them? Do I have to buy something? What do I do in this moment? It can be really uncomfortable because people think they know artists or they know the process. And what makes Studio Crawl so great is exactly what you just said. It's an opportunity to just experience the arts. I often go to 8, 9, 10, 11 locations. I don't buy art at 11 locations. For heaven's sakes, I'd have to get a 15th job. But it's such a great opportunity to see what people are working on, to ask those questions, to watch other people experience art. That's a real gift as part of this process, is just to see people sort of enter into someone's space a little bit unsure, have an artist greet them, for them to see all the various price points, for them to see the ways that they can interact with art and with makers. That's a real gift to this process, is you're not just looking at the art, you're meeting the artist. And that just doesn't happen often enough. So everything you said, I wholeheartedly agree with. And absolutely, I think the best part is to see that little person whose eyes light up when their question gets answered. You just do not know what path that's going to set them on. And that's just amazing. So I love that piece of it too. Let's shift gears just a tiny bit and talk about Gallery 4, because if you're going to wear 40 hats, Scott, let's talk about all of the hats that you wear. And while you're talking about it, I'm going to pull up Gallery 4's website too.
Yeah. So probably about 7 years ago, I became a member of Gallery 4. And it's one of those unique locations because it's an artist cooperative gallery. And people ask us, what does that actually mean? And it's basically an artist run gallery where the artist works the gallery. We all take turns working the desk and greeting customers. And then as part of that, we get to have a space on the wall as well, too, where we showcase our art. So we have probably about 40 local artists at Gallery 4 right now, all in a variety of mediums and all in different levels of their profession. And I think that's sort of an exciting part because some of the more experienced artists, you see that there's sort of like a mentorship that goes on there within that artist community. So the new ones, it's like, well, how do I present it? How do I hang it? How do I price it? What do I say to people when they come on board? And I think that is crucial in the art world because there's not really an art 101 class that talks about how do we engage with the community? How do we talk about art? And not so much sell our art, but how do we really relate to people and tell about our story? We have a story. Every artist has a story, but how do we best do that? And I think that's sort of the fine point of Gallery 4 that we have that as well too, and that we open that up to other artists as well.
I will say the very first time I ever went into Gallery 4, it was years before I was at the Arts Partnership. And I kept running into an artist who's no longer with the gallery. I believe she's moved away, but I kept running into this woman's work all throughout the gallery, and I loved every single piece of it. And so I sort of timidly walked up to the front desk and I said to the woman at the desk, "What can you tell me about this artist?" And she said, "Well, quite a bit. I'm her." And it was such a delight to meet the woman whose work I had started to admire. She was so approachable. She was so interesting. It's just another opportunity. If you're someone who feels like, oh gosh, I could never talk to artists, Gallery 4 is a great, great place to go. I have never walked in there and had an artist sitting behind the desk not greet me, not ask me if there's anything I'm looking for in particular, not be willing to talk about any of the artists. It's such a fun place to go. And if you're thinking to yourself, well, of course that happens to you, Dana Del Valle, you run the Arts Partnership. That's a fair point. But not all of those artists know me by just when I walk through the door. So often, particularly if it's a young artist, I'm just another potential customer or a client coming through the door. So I know I'm not getting special treatment. I know that that is the treatment that everybody who walks through that door gets. And it's just such a fun, it's a fun experience because you really get to have an additional opportunity to learn some more things about whatever it is you're curious about. So I love that about it. It occurs to me, Scott, that I might have made people nervous when I said if I bought art at all the places I went to Studio Crawl, I'd have to get a 14th job. So I want to give you the opportunity just to talk about price points wherever you want to talk. If you want to talk about in your own studio or Gallery 4 or whatever, because I know that some people get nervous. They'll never be able to afford real art. And I want you to help dispel that myth.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think as artists that we try to create different price points. As an artist, it can be like different size because, in today's society, sometimes we have people who live in a smaller place. And so it's like they don't have as much like huge walls. And that's okay because sometimes an artist, and if you ask them, some artists like to paint smaller pieces and other artists really excel at large mural pieces, that type of thing, and that's true. But with the gallery, and then what I do as well too, I have a variety of things, sizes, just because we talked a little bit earlier about how do we get the young people involved in the arts, and how do we get maybe an adult who really hasn't experienced the arts, how do we get them to take that first step into that water? And so it could be like a small magnet. It could be a greeting card that is an original. I had someone come into the gallery and say, you know, my goal in the past 3 years was to write a greeting card, take a note card, and send it to someone that I haven't been in touch with. She's unable to travel as much as she used to, but she still wanted to have that personal touch. So she comes into the gallery and she grabs and purchases all these different greeting cards as well too, and so she sends them out. So whether it's a greeting card, a small sized print, it could be like a 5x7, 8x10. There's just a variety of sizes out there. And I think it's how the customer wants to decorate their home, and we're talking businesses as well too. For me, I have all those different price points and sizes too. I had a customer who did not live here. They were visiting from out east, and they saw a photo that I took of downtown Fargo, and I had it printed on brushed metal. They were ecstatic about it, and they said, "We want it." And some people, that's it. It's like the very impulse driven. It's like, that's the piece. We have a perfect wall that needs to go on. So we packed it up and shipped it out to them. And so those are nice surprises like that, because people enjoy it, and you could just see the excitement on their face when they purchase that piece. So so at the end of the day, when we have fun stories like that, you walk out of the gallery and go home and you sit down in your chair and it's like, yeah, that was a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic way to end. Just give me quick, Scott, before we hop off, what are the times of Studio Crawl so that everybody is sure to get out Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, exactly. All the studios, it's free and open to the public, so anyone can attend. It's this Saturday and Sunday, October 1st and 2nd, and noon to 6 at all of the studios.
Noon to 6, you can go and spend 5 minutes. You can spend 55 minutes. The artists are there. They're available. Go out and do this. If you've never done Studio Crawl, the weather's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a perfect fall opportunity. This is a great chance to introduce your children to the arts, to introduce your friends and neighbors to the arts. Take somebody along. If you're somebody who never misses Studio Crawl, find somebody in your life who's never gone and be the person who opens the door to real art to somebody who maybe just thinks it's not for them. Take them to one studio. You do not need to go to all 40 studios. Go to one studio and get them excited about it too. Scott, thanks so much for joining me. Congratulations on your award. I can hardly think of anyone who's earned it more.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dina.
And good luck this weekend. I look forward to seeing you at the studio. Everybody else, I will see you out and about, and I'll see you back here next Thursday. Bye.